So this shade house was first built in 1980, one of our first indoor shade houses to be built on the property. And we mainly store sales ready stock through these two shade houses. So you'll see a lot of 130mm size pots as we go through. We tend to stick to that size, a 13cm pot, due to easy dispatch across Queensland and as far as northern New South Wales. We have expanded into 175mm hanging pots as well, and we do hundreds of varieties of indoors. So for example, in our pothos range, we do solely 16 different varieties of pothos. So that's for starters, and then expanding into many different varieties from there as well. So also frost tender varieties like syngoniums and pothos and peperomias live in here. So because we can easily cover them in frost cloth as the early mornings start to get cooler. And to the right we've got our sales chutes there. So the sales ready stock will roll down those chutes and then the workers will pack them onto trolleys and they will get transferred up to our transport department. So essentially it's about 4 degrees warmer in here than your average outdoor temperature.
You must have left early.
I left home this after 8. I drive for cars.
Oh, yeah. Waiting for a fine.
Yeah, never had one.
Haven't you? Oh, you've just been lucky.
I know where it's when it's low, I don't get it.
We've got our retailer to the right, which is where Kim and I work through the week. So a lot of the stock in there is grown on site and then sold in the retailer, as well as we buy in a lot of stock as well, especially taking custom orders, depending on what the customer wants. Open 7 days a week, 8:30 till 5 p.m. I'll give you an example of the size of the nursery. It is 400 acres, but we dedicate 50 acres to intensive plant production. And to the right we have some more older propagation houses, storing mainly begonias and pothos free from frost. So right now, last year in 2022, us in the train, we would be underwater. So the water came up to the top of the shed to the right on the hill there, about 1 metre high, and went right throughout the nursery. So the shed on the right, on the hill there, that is our soil mixing area and our transplanting area. So we custom mix our soil for Pohlman's, for our Pohlman's plants. So it's comprised of koya, which is coconut husk that we get from Sri Lanka, peat moss from Lithuania, and pine bark mulch. So those are essentially soilless mixes, and then the pine bark aerates the soil, and then we mix that with a potting mix with fertiliser, natural bacteria and fungi. So all of that is done custom here before the plant is even planted or seeded. So towards the back of that shed we have 2 seeding lines from Italy. So they seed our quick growing veggies and flowers direct into packs and punnets. And then to the left of this shed we have a robotic vision transplanting line. That one is from France. So that is a quick planting plug that plants flower plugs into punnets and packs. It essentially moves plants about 10 to 20,000 cells every hour, so it is very efficient, and we have compared it to be about 60 times faster than the average human in terms of movability. But we don't ever take human interaction, and reaction for granted, and we always have staff monitoring those machines throughout their entire shift. So to the right here was the first plastic house ever built in 1980 by my grandpa. Currently all transplanted plants from that shed move out into this to be housed in here until they're hardy enough to go out into the outdoors. So to the right here is our packing shed, where all of our plants from different departments accumulate to be packed. We have a fleet of 14 trucks that travel across Queensland as far as northern New South Wales and also as far as Rockhampton. It's a Wednesday, so it's our catch-up day today, so no packing. Big pack days are Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's usually quite busy in this area on our on days. So we're entering our seedling area to the right. So this is our quickest turnover department. As you can imagine, seedlings do grow quite quickly, so we give them about a week in lifespan. So this is our Wednesday reshuffle, so we're reshuffling for sales for tomorrow, and then mostly all of this stock will be gone and sold tomorrow, and then we'll reshuffle again on Friday. So we've got a lot of annual punnets as well as veggie punnets, and then it moves into our packs. So our 10-pot packs, our 6-pot packs and our 4-pot packs, which you can find in your local Bunnings store or independent nurseries as well. With the rolling bench system, it was the first of its kind brought out in 1980 by my grandpa, first of its kind brought to Australia. That rolling bench system is purely just so we can manually move with weather conditions. So it's a beautiful sunny day, nice cool air, we can wheel the seedlings right out so they can stay compact in their growth. We don't like leggy, stringy seedling plants. So then when there's any chance of overcast nature, hail, storms, we manually push them back in, put them under light and put the heating fans on so they're nice and cozy. So 2011 floods, the water came up just under those rolling benches to the wheels and the plants were sitting happy on top. We were extremely lucky that we didn't lose any plants at all with the water just flooding under the benches. As I said, it's a quick turnover department. We ship out about 3.8 sales units per year from this section, so it is a in-demand area. As we move down to this the far end, we have our herb section. So we have our own brand called Hidden Valley Herbs, which you may have seen in Coles, Woolworths, Drake's, in your fruit and veggie department. You can catch me doing my weekly grocery shop, just merchandising and making sure it looks really good. Yeah, because it's always shuffled around and the tickets aren't facing the front, so I have to go through and make it look really good. And then we also have the privilege of growing the Diggers Club, which is an heirloom variety of plants out of Melbourne. So we're very lucky to be growing that range. It's in our 100ml pots. You can find them in Bunnings as well and independent nurseries and retailers. So that heirloom variety of seed is passed down from generation to generation. It's proven to be pest and disease resistant and one of the best qualities of seeds that you can buy. So we're getting ready, the white and black boxes are getting ready to go out to Woolworths. So an example of how the peat moss comes in from Lithuania are these pallets here. So they come in like that and then it's broken up and dispersed through the soil. Costing wise, each pallet is around $2,000 to $3,000. So that's just one element that goes into our soil. So the two large houses on the left were built in the late 90s and early 2000. They're both Dutch glass houses made from hail-proof glass panels. They're both great thermoregulated houses for winter, and they also give us early plant production for the cool of winter as well. As you can see, they are painted with a light white spray paint. This is purely so that we can control our shade percentage custom to the plants that are in those houses. So what you have to do is we have to call up a pilot. They have to have a pilot's license to fly the drone that is required to paint those houses. So the pilot comes in, maps out the perimeter of those glass houses, and then he'll take up 16 kilos of paint at a time and paint it for us. So then with weather conditions like rain and storms, that shade percentage will diminish, and then we'll get the pilot to come in again and replenish it for us. Okay, and to the right on the hill is Glass House 9. This is a hardened plastic house and runs automatically, including watering. So it was built in 2000 and can be controlled remotely via an iPhone to water the plants and to close the roof and walls in conjunction with any environmental changes. So for example, if we get too much western wind, it will sense that and it will automatically shut the western curtain. Or if we get too much wind surrounding the house, it will completely shut itself down. So you can see that it's a beautiful sunny day, so it has sensed that and opened up its roof. We've got that curtain closed all the way down to the bottom today, just so we don't dry out those plants on that side there, as they can easily dry out with the sun. In painting, we used to do that via chopper. But with new technology, it's more sustainable for us to opt for the drone, and it is also half the price of getting a chopper in as well. So you can see all of our wall plugs that we've seeded up in that top machinery shed that I showed you across the creek are living in here. We seed into plug trays purely to maximise our space. So we can fit so many more little plugs as opposed to pots on those benches in there. We've got different exciting things like trialling gum trees and trialling different eucalyptus as well. And then we've got another of our indoor section here. So we have a few different indoor plants that run right through to the back as well. So we're coming into our potted colour area now. You can see that we store our poinsettias just through in that house there. That's so we can black them out of a night time. So the poinsettias love a dark shaded nature, and then that manipulates their ruby colour. So with the longer winter nights, their colour comes out. So towards the back where you can see the staff buzzing around is where we also pack our orders to. So there's a long lines of sales ready stock that they just pick and pluck and then pack, and then those orders go back onto trolleys back to our transport department to be packed as well. With potted colour in particular, and also nursery-wide, we have adopted bugs for bugs, which I'm sure you've heard about. We source our bugs from Toowoomba, our predatory mites, and they are put onto our plants at the first stages of life, and then fortnightly and monthly as the plant grows. So essentially what we do is we get canisters of predatory mites, We fill them into a bucket, and there's sawdust in there as well. They haven't found their wings yet, so they're not flying around, but we essentially just throw it over the top of the pots, and then within the hour or two those predatory mites find their wings, and they essentially attack those bad bugs that can that is only natural in your gardening processes. So we have been working on that intensively within the last 4 years, and they are doing has been very beneficial. They're doing a lot of the work for us. So essentially we can't use strong chemicals, those nasty chemicals we used to use back in the early 2000s, 80s, 90s, so that we don't undo the good work that we are doing. So most of our sprays are organic. So I'll talk about water shortly, and we obviously regard it as liquid gold, but this is one of 2 of our recycled dam pods that holds 10 million litres of water in that one. So this little shed on the left here in front of us is responsible for potting most of the plants in our potticolor section. So there's a tiny little machine in there called the Javo machine. The pots are pre-filled with soil as they go along a conveyor line. So the workers will place the plant plugs in the pots as they go past, and once the machine senses that there's 14 pots in a row, through vacuum suction, it will pick up those 4 pots and place it on the short side of one of these rolling benches. And then it will move a pot size forward until that rolling bench is full. 574 pots to a bench, and we can pot a bench every 11 minutes. So we're moving across to our trees and shrubs area now. 80 people working for us. In busier seasons like around Mother's Day and spring, it increases to about 250. Each staff member is assigned a different growing department, and then if they need help in other departments, they will be dispersed where it's needed. So water, also known as liquid gold to us, is the most fundamental element of our industry. And here we have our water laneway to the right and the left, which runs off Red Bank Creek throughout the nursery and its surrounds. So to the right is our active water level, which is about 5 to 7 metres deep at the moment. And we can say within the last 10 to 15 years we have struggled through drought. And only within the last couple of years have we been able to really concentrate and dedicate time to build up our underground water supply and our water recycling systems. And through that work, we can now happily say that we have plenty of water to sustain to sustain everyday plant production for the years to come. It's not a worry at the moment due to the hard work we put into recycled water. So any igloos, glass houses, plastic houses, horticultural mat, it's all collected, and that water runoff is caught and runs back into our dam pods, and then it's recycled back into watering plant stock nursery wide. So last year alone, for example, we recycled 40 million litres of water, and when we do get rainfall or irrigation catchment, with every millimetre of rain, we capture about 25,000 litres of water. So the most fundamental element to sustain our business is water, and it's our mission to become sustainable as possible, and it's something that we never take for granted. To the right is our second dam pod. This one feeds water through to the left to trees and shrubs, and also back to watercolour when needed. 27 million litres of water are in that one. It's always hard to tell if the coast is clear, so I got Okay, so we're now entering our trees and shrub section, which is about 7 acres. This one here experiences a lot more tougher weather conditions than the rest of the nursery. It's quite open, so you've got a lot of wind speed. And also the temperature ranges from about -5 up to 45 degrees throughout the year. We have a lot of natives over here, callistemons, grevilleas, and then a lot of your hedging plants like buxus, morea, and lily-pillies. We also do have a lot of mandevilleas, also used to be known as diplodemias, in flower at the moment, flowering all year round. Looks like the water's just been on, so that just missed us. I have had to race the train through as the water's been on before. Accidentally turned on while we're going through. So this area here has a longer shelf life. As you can see, turnover isn't as fast over here, so there's a lot more, it's a lot labour intensive with hand weeding and cleaning and things like that. To the right, as we come up, is an example of how we keep our mother stock. We are in the middle of changing how we store our mother stock, but this is an example of what it looks like before it is propagated. So each variety that we do hand propagate, we have to have a license for. So there is a fee with every variety of plant that we do propagate as well. So obviously that goes into that final retail price as well. Many different elements involved behind the scenes before it reaches stores. So my brother is normally the grower over here, but he's now currently over in Holland, gaining some experience in the cut flower houses over there at the moment.
Oh yes, that's a good idea.
Our row of igloos spanning this side of the nursery. You can see the end, I think there's 9 there, the end 9. The ones that look quite new are new. The rest are a little bit rusty from the 80s. so eventually we will replace those. But the N9 that have been replaced are purely dedicated to a new innovation in nursery technology, which is storing mother stock. So each igloo is paired in pairs of 2. It is secured in that pair with an airlock and a foot bath. So the staff member will go through that airlock, that pair of igloos, and then through a foot bath. This is to keep pest and disease at bay, because we never want pest or disease to reach our mother stock. And if it does, then that pair of igloos will go instead of the whole run of igloos. So they're under dripper, mainly taking care of themselves in there. And it is a tight, strict area, so that the staff member will have a different coloured vest on, and things like smoking, unfortunately you can't work within there because tobacco can set some disease off in plants as well. And then towards the back of the igloos is our newest build. It's our propagation house. This is one of my dad's biggest dreams, to put a propagation house in. We just purely did not have enough space in the nursery. So this one here is 5 acres in size, this propagation house, and it is the latest from France. It's called a Rochelle house. It's plastic, and it's called a second skin, or we like to call it the Michelin Man. So it essentially, the boiler will pump warm air into the layers of the plastic and keep the house about 8 degrees warmer than your average outdoor temperature. So you can sense that it's needing a bit of airflow, so it has sensed that, and it's popped at the top there. Different days, depending on the day, it's puffier than normal. This one looks a little bit puffier today, so it must have needed a bit more warm air inside. But essentially we keep all of our mother stock there. We have a propagation line that we've just put in, where staff will send out that line and purely propagate all day. And then we have 2 mist chambers. So once the stock is freshly propagated, it will be moved into mist chambers, which are like fog chambers. You can't really see in front of you. It's purely because those little babies can't take in water. They're not hardy enough to take in watering. So they are under mist for a few weeks, up to a month, and then they're moved into another chamber in that house to take in watering, and then they're moved outside until they're ready for sales. So I'm not allowed to drive the train through. I've already asked my dad that, and he said no. Health and safety wise, we can bring in pests and disease and things like that, but I will take you around and you can sort of see through that plastic there. So within the houses, towards the back here, you have your trees and shrubs stock. So this is a hotter end of the house. When we first put it in, walking into it, it was like walking into an oven. But we have sprayed the top to make it cooler inside. The rolling bench system in there as well is in there. It's a French system, so the rolling benches are lower than they were in the 80s. Purely for staff ease, so they can lean over the bench, they can weed, clean and cut back easily as well. We also do have that water boom system in there as well, so the water boom will still top the layer of the plant, saving our water usage as well. And if we have a grower that works in here through the week, off on the weekend, and he's not happy with how it went on Friday, so he had a really busy day and he's like, I need to program the water again on the Saturday, he'll just remotely program it from his phone on the weekend to water the plants. So you can kind of see through this next part here. A lot of the stock in these houses is actually our trials, so that's the most exciting part of the industry, is us travelling to Spain and Europe, because they have a similar climate to us, They love their geraniums, calabacoas, gerberas, petunias, dahlias, all of those plants that grow well in our climate. So we go there, we have a look at the latest hybrid varieties that they're bringing out, and then we get to bring those back here and trial them in our environment, and then possibly make them our crop. So as we take in new product from those trials, we also filter out older styles. So you'll find we don't always have the same product because we have to keep picking and choosing what we do take on. This is now at capacity as well. So we are running out of room in this one as well.
Shift out there.
That's true, we do have plenty of space to the right. So this middle section here is where our mixed chambers are, where the babies live. I did study midwifery prior to this, so it has my heart of where the little ones are. My siblings all work here. Dad took over the nursery from my grandpa in 2000, and he said, no, I don't want any of my kids in the industry, it's too tough. You know, it comes in waves, it's a very hard work. So he said, go away and do something else at least, you don't have to study, but do something else first. So we all did, and then we said, sorry Dad, we're all coming back. So now we're all back here, 2 sets of twins. We're each in our own department, and we've got our own roles, and we like to bring in that innovative new ways of doing things and challenge him as well. So we're a great team, and he couldn't be happier. So you can see a little bit through this house here. We've got a bit of mother stock, and the door that's actually open there is our trial. So we are doing our trial week where we trial those things that we've brought back from Spain, even Melbourne, in there, and then we present it to industry professionals. So we present it to our suppliers as well as local councils who want to grow our plants. They're all swollen. And just it runs for a week of us presenting our plants to different industry professionals. So we've got a nursery supplier there from Melbourne. So you can kind of see a little bit in there as well. All our trials are laid out for everyone to see. And then the home poured chlorine. So we get a tablet essentially that is put into our tanks, and then that cleans the tanks free from algae, pest and disease, and then the water is filtered and then put back onto our plant. We have to do a step like this purely so we can comply as a biosecure facility, and so we can get our plants across the border.
Queensland was totally taken up from older student
So in front of us are igloos purely for overflow. We store a lot of kalanchoes in there, which is like similar to your succulent. We do like to grow those under shade because they stay compact as a plant, but they do tolerate full sun as well in the home garden. They tend to just grow bigger and leggier, and then if you have them in the shade, they stay compact. Throughout November and earlier, we store our hydrangeas in those igloos, as well as hibiscus. And then towards the back of the igloos is our padded area, where we have our tougher varieties, like geraniums, lavender, argoranthanums, and yeah, all of those different sorts, osteospermums as well. And then over night time we turn on the lights and continue the growing process as well up on those pads. purely for excess plants. So in our spring busy season, all of those rolling benches will be full of plants, as well as underneath on the ground. We have to elevate our plants on that pebbled area as well. Plus and everything, we did have to build this shed here to dedicate time and space to fix these rolling benches. So they just get wheeled in there every day, and someone is welding and rebending and replacing wheels. And in springtime, all of these benches, we usually are fighting for a spare bench, so all of these benches will be full of plants that you can see all around us. We're just starting to slow down a little bit after Mother's Day before we get in preparation for spring. And to the right is our Pohlman's fuel station, so we have our own fuel on site, so our 14 fleet of trucks and all our vehicles will fuel up there rather than outsource on the road. We also have our own Pohlman's garbage bins and our Pohlman's dump truck as well. So in taking that on, we've been able to be a bit tighter with where our dump goes. We have cardboard bins, plastic bins, dump bins and green waste bins, and we're very strict with how our dump is dispersed. So each month our dump is statistically analysed, and it is decreasing. Our dump that is going to the dump by 43%, and that continues to decrease every month as we take it on ourselves. Recyclable by the home gardener. The only product that we've been having trouble with recycling is our seedling punnets, that soft plastic that's yet to be recycled by the home gardener. So what happens there is they're sent back to a company in Melbourne called Garden City Plastics that melt down that plastic for us. So with all of our hard trays, pots, tickets, each of our suppliers knows to send all of those back on our trolleys, and then they come back to us. And then we have steam cleaners where we steam all of our pots, trays, punnets, tickets, and then we reuse them essentially until they're broken. So we do not throw any pots or plastics out unless it is no longer usable to us. Even all of our tickets are recycled as well and cleaned. We also don't yet have a machine that will ticket any of our products, so ticketing is all done by hand, which is what I started out doing, ticketing for a shift all day, which is fine, it's quite therapeutic. So that comes to the end of our tour today. I want to thank you all for taking an interest in our company, our family-owned business, and we always love to educate people on the behind the scenes and give you a bit more of a connection to our nursery and our company, and to look out for our plants in stores and support us. So thank you for taking an interest in us, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
plants up.